historic restoration starts out, we have no idea how we're going to do it. I mean, we got a kind of idea, no idea. And then it's just a disaster in the middle. And at the end, it all comes together. And some of the best restoration and the best basic repairs go unnoticed because they look like they were never done.
ATWF, all things wood floor. Welcome to the greatest hardwood flooring podcast in modern time. Brought to you by Wood Floor Business. Come see Wood Floor Business. Come be Wood Floor Brilliant. This episode is sponsored by Woodchuck Flooring, flooring and customer service experts with 52 years under their tool belts. Welcome once again to All Things Wood Floor. I'm Stephen Diggins, your hostess with the mostest and hardwood floor aficionado. Today's Guide to the Flooring Stars. Calling in today, you know him, you love him, the most requested guest on All Things Wood Floor to date, the Floor Pro's Floor Pro, Sprigg Lynn of Universal Floors, Washington, D.C. Sprigg, his family, his ancestors have made their mark in history as curators, preservationists, and purveyors of some of the finest and most famous hardwood flooring projects in our nation's history. We're going to talk about the common bonds that tie flooring pros to our industry and our craft. We're going to talk about doing great work and getting paid what you deserve for it. We're going all the way back to 1982, ancient floor testament stuff, borrowing socks from a president, the Dalai Lama, the Wright brothers, Ethel Kennedy, that penny pincher, fire and brimstone, seas boiling, earthquakes, volcanoes, human sacrifices, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. Yep, we're going old school, folks. You're going to laugh. Some might even cry. It's all part of the beauty, brilliance, and passion that floor pros like Sprigg Lynn and you, our Floor Pro readers and listeners, bring to the table each and every day. Bring your hands together, people, for a monumentally grand round of applause for Sprigg Lynn, Universal Floors, Washington, D.C., US of A. Floor pros of this great nation and around the world. Let's get to it! Sprigg Lynn, welcome to All Things Wood Floor. I've been dying to meet you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Steve. I'm ready to go. What you got?
Woo-hoo! All right. Listen, I get a couple things. First of all, so Universal Floors, which is your business, is it Tenleytown? Is that Washington, D.C.? Did I get that right?
Tenleytown is a small section of Washington, upper northwest part of kind of borders Bethesda, Maryland.
So you must be, I know a little about the area that you're in. Is that like Cleveland Park, Chevy Chase Heights, right around there, or am I wrong?
Yeah, not far from the National Cathedral and not far from the White House, just on top of the hill. It's Washington, D.C. is a fantastic place to be in business because it's always the last to get hit by a recession, the first to recover.
Is it, now I hear people say down there, it's the tricky part about doing business there is, and you can tell me, they'll say, well, it's the Beltway. It's hard to get from one side to the other because it's so congested. Is that something that you can tell me about?
We try to stay off the Beltway. We mostly stay right in the heart of Washington, D.C., usually within 5 miles of our shop. But we will travel, and we have people's second homes out in horse country of Virginia or down at the beach or what have you. We get out of the city once in a while, but we mostly stay right around the city, right there in the heart of the city, which very few tradesmen are in the city.
It's a beautiful cosmopolitan area. Every time I go there, I'm amazed. I actually took my flooring certification exam down there. I think I was telling you in the Falls Church area, and I was. It's very upscale. People are very well educated. They spend a lot of money on their hardwood flooring, and I didn't run into that many really fantastic flooring companies. Your name came up everywhere, and then there was a lot of others that they'll hire a jack of all trades. They'll hire a finish carpenter to do some of their work. Do you know a lot of other premier flooring companies, or are you pretty much what's in the area?
There's a handful of guys, but obviously I'm a little biased, so I feel we're the best. We've been there the longest. We've been there close to 70 years, and we've made payroll every year for 70 years, so that's got to say something. If we charge too much, we go out of business. If we didn't charge enough, we'd go out of business. So we're very proud of our business that my father started in 1953, and my kids are working with me now, and we're very interested in moving forward for many, many years to go.
You got the kids dragged into this, huh?
Well, hey, I'm not forcing anybody to do anything.
No, my son did gymnasiums with me. Then that was
I wouldn't say I was forced, but I didn't have much of a choice. And but I love it. Believe me, I worked with my father nearly every day till he was 92 years old.
That's fantastic.
It was absolutely incredible. Beautiful. I worked with my brother, my mother. I've worked with my sister, nephews, you name it, cousins. A little nepotism there at Universal Floors, but we like it. We're a true family company with good old-fashioned manners.
It works. If you got to throw down, you throw down. There's no airs, right? People, if it's got to be said, it gets done, and it's a team. And I know I know my dad had a big business, and you didn't mess with my family. It was, if you were part of the family, you're part of the business, and that's how it was.
Steve, good old-fashioned manners, a handshake and a smile doesn't cost you a dime, and it's kind of missing in the Washington area. And people don't open doors for each other. They don't greet each other. But we try to bring that back into the business big time. And we like it.
Your family was super supportive from what we've talked and what I've read when you've written in Wood Floor Business Magazine. It goes all the way back. Tell me a little about your grandfather, David Lynn.
Well, my grandfather and my father, very hard act to follow. My grandfather was born 1873. And he came off a farm in Maryland, 1898, and went to Washington, D.C. And he got a job as the lowest paying guy on Capitol Hill. That's where the Capitol is. And under the architect of the Capitol as a ditch digger. In 20 years, he worked his way up to what we call the architect of the Capitol. Right. At the time, he became the 7th architect of the Capitol. There's only been 7 since George Washington. Now I don't know what they're up to now, 13, 14, but back then you're appointed for life, and anything constructed up on Capitol Hill, Senate office buildings, you name it, the architect of the Capitol that was his job. So he was a very liked man, and he worked very hard, and we're very proud of him. One of his famous buildings that he built from the ground up within 3 years was the United States Supreme Court as it stands right now. Amazing. He built it on time and under budget. And they got all pissed off when he gave the money back to the Treasury because they wanted to furnish the Supreme Court. And he said, no, this was allocated to build it, not to furnish it. And who knows what Congress did with the money after that. But it's a very proud building to walk in when your grandfather's name is etched on the marble as you walk through the front doors, which is a very interesting story. One time many years ago, as a young man, we had a huge restoration job there, and I went there to meet the Supreme Court officials. There's about 19 of us sitting around a table, and they were questioning me, all kinds of questions. There was the architect, there was preservationist, you name it. And they were grilling me. And I basically said, look, if my grandfather can build this building within 3 years, on time and under budget, I think his grandson can handle the wood floors. And they all started laughing. And it about ended the conversation. And that was it. That's great. And from that on, they just called me and say, get it done. And at the Supreme Court, we have a program called Choose to Reuse. So we salvage wood from houses slated for demolition, and we date them, whatever date it is, 1930s, 1700s, whatever, and we take it out and denail it, call through it, and we reuse it in many of the buildings in Washington, from the White House, Vice President's house, Supreme Court, you name it. So we give it a breath of fresh air, and it's got another 150 years of life. And normally it'd be thrown in a landfill. It's absolutely incredible story.
That is cool. Have you ever been able to go work literally on the grounds where your grandfather had designed things? Like were there flooring projects?
all the plant. He chose the floors from Wood Mosaic, which was one of the oldest, finest floor companies in the world that made all these fancy borders and flooring. But yeah, his name's all over it, and he approved it, and it's absolutely incredible. he died in about a year before I was born, so I never physically got to meet the man.
Right.
So it's a kind of an honor to go down there and work and do a first class job. And believe me, we'll go down there on Sunday, Saturday. It doesn't matter. We're in there. We're getting it done. And we want to make my grandfather proud.
Boy, I tell you, my grandfather was a luthier, a violin maker, woodworker. Again, I never met him. He died before I was born. And in the town of Nashville, where my whole family grew up and built businesses, I got a call from a dealer of ours that sells hardwood flooring, and they were having a little trouble and asked if I could come help out with their showroom. And I haven't done flooring in a while. I packed up all my tools, went over, and I helped them. And they got done, and they were thanking me, and they said, well, why did you pack up? And I was almost in tears. I go, this was my grandfather's wood shop. Then they started pulling out photos of the old leather belts running the pulleys, and I had a picture of my grandfather in his smock, working in that building.
That's fantastic.
They're right. There's something that connects you to it. Tell me about, now your father, I think he was a history nut, right? I read online a lot about him.
Yeah. His mother was a big genealogist and followed the family history, and so was he. And we're really into American history. That's why, me personally, historic restoration is so close to my heart. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
We always say, if our floors could talk, what tales they'd tell. That all these old historic floors, they're absolutely incredible. People say they've been around this many years, that many years. We've been under the same name, same family. We made payroll every Friday for almost 70 years. I'm telling you, that's got to mean something. I'm very proud of that.
That's amazing. And you probably learned a lot from that. When it all started in the beginning, did your father start by teaching you about finance and money and business, or did he start by teaching you about flooring? So one of them had to have the business mind and the technical flooring mind, because businesses kind of need three components. It's got to have that person that can manage, the person that can launch it into the future, but somebody needs to know the technical aspects. Was everybody throwing in, or did your dad know the whole thing soup to nuts?
No, he learned.
Right.
I think he had the first moisture meter has ever made. And he swore, there's only two books I've ever read, being dyslexic. It's Old Yeller and the NAFTA Handbook. And he swore by it. He said, you don't need to go to convention. Read this. Yep. You need to know this. But no, he learned. He went to World War II the day he turned 17. He came back after the war, went back to the 10th grade, finished high school, went through University of Maryland, business administration, and went to law school for a short period and said, I'll never wear a tie. Went to work for a floor company for about a year. And he said, I'm going to own my own company. And my mother and my father were the first installers and employees. And he grew it to about 150 floor guys. And he had quite a big company. And he did a good job with it.
Was he good with money? Did he teach you about economics?
Well, he was born during the Depression.
Sure.
So he knew how to stretch a dollar. And he always said it's easy to be the captain of the ship during calm waters. He always stayed calm, cool, and collect. He always had a plan, and he stuck to it. Right. And he knew the importance of collecting your money.
Right.
The money is the lifeline of your company, and you got to collect it. He said it does no good in someone else's bank. We need to put it in our bank and turn it into cash money in our bank, because you can't pay bills, you can't buy material, and you can't pay payroll on someone else's money.
No.
And someone else's bank.
Yeah, so he taught you that right up front. Did you guys have to do, listen, that was the thing, right? That's what happens today. You get a 1 or 2 man company. These guys work real hard, and then they go home and they figure, well, how am I going to do estimates? And now how do I have time to go collect money? And one of the keys to this whole thing is paying your bills, paying your distributors so that they'll be faithful to you and they'll give you deals and breaks, and, they'll maybe put your deliveries ahead of other people, and, you don't want to be caught behind the 8 ball like that. Did you, as you moved along, did he have you collecting your own money?
Oh, yeah.
You've got stories, don't you?
Well, you asked earlier, how did I start out? I started out working, doing the floors as a young kid. And we had a labor shortage in the Washington area. So my dad brought a lot of guys out of the tobacco region of North Carolina and brought them up here and taught them a trade. And he went out to Southwest Virginia and brought a lot of the guys out of Tazewell and Bluefield and those areas and brought them up here. And they seemed to be probably the best that learned hard work ethics. So that's who I learned from, those guys. So I got, Steve, I got one foot in old school and I got another foot in the new school. And I think if you combine both new school and old school together, there's no stopping you, because I can switch from A to B anytime, and I know both ways. And it's a big deal for me to know both methods. A lot of people don't know anything. They know a power drive or whatever machine they work. That's it. I'm from the old, my father started out, they were bumping and scraping. They were hand scraping.
Yeah.
They were supplying, installing, and finishing strip oak floors for 43 cents a square foot. Wow. And they were, the labor rate was 3 or 4 cents a foot to hand nail floors. Now you made a living. You didn't make much money. You made a living. Nowadays, guys can make a good bit of money. At least the guys work for me do.
Yeah, finally, I think after the pandemic and the recessions, and guys are all of a sudden, we used to try to get $1.50, $1.75. We were the highest people in town. Now it's $3.50, $4.50, a little more for staying, a little more for water base. I'm proud of these guys. It's time that they get what they deserve. It's a craft. I know a lot of really lacking hardwood flooring people, and that's a problem in our industry right now. And the ones that are working at your level are worth gold. And when you meet them, it's like you speak the same language. Flooring is a whole other language, and like you said, you can't. There's no way you're going to go off on a weekend and learn this stuff. You got to be in the trenches. There really should be some type of apprenticeship. You could teach a guy for 4 years how to sharpen a scraper, and he'll still throw it at you and say, "You do this. I got to get back to work." It's that difficult. I hate it when people say it's not rocket science. Well, we can make it rocket science if you'd like to.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's now, wood floors is hard work. No doubt about it. And you can toil away at that hard work for your whole life, and it will beat your body up. So you got to have either an exit plan or something else, or you're just going to stay working away, beating your body up every day. So you got to work smart. You got to work. The best tools you got is your left and right hand and your head. And eventually you got to work more with your head than your left and right arm, because hard work will kill you. Believe me.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of my customers, they come in and, they'll tell me they can't stop. They'd say, as long as I'm good, I might take part of the weekend, but vacations are difficult as they find it hard to get back in the groove. When they get back in the groove, they do. I had a buddy of mine, he's done stone walls his whole life. We did a 10,000-foot barn for him with hand pegs and everything. And after the first day, he goes, I don't know how you do this. I go, Greg, I can't move stone walls like you do. He goes, but this is totally different work. It's hard work, like you said.
No, and you know what? There's two kind of wood floors out there. Ones that need to be sanded and ones that will need to be sanded. And that's good job security. Yep. Seriously, you know how much pre-finished, Steve? Yeah. How much pre-finished floors are out there? And they will never invent a computer or an app or anything to sand that floor. So if you learn how to sand, hey, believe me, I sand and install, but if you learn how to sand floors, you got good job security.
Well, not only that, there's more money. Listen, you didn't maybe get the sand and finish on a pre-finished floor, but you probably get paid well. When it comes around, there's a lot more money if you're smart sanding pre-finished floors, because it ain't that easy. I've seen people go through $1,000 in sandpaper using the wrong sandpaper to come back and say, what is going wrong with this? I know people that won't touch a pre-finished floor. Oh, there's a way, if you know what you're doing, to grind those down, and they're going to be there. They're going to be ready for the next generation of floor sanders for a long time.
I tell you, the more you learn, the more you earn, and you got to keep on learning. My dad learned and learned and learned. After his death, we set up a scholarship fund from a father, so you can actually apply for scholarship money to go to these schools. But you know what the most important, everything's important, but is networking with these people that have the same passion as you. I network with a lot of people, and I learn a lot from everybody, everyone I come in contact with. So I bring a lot of people into Washington, and very talented people. And, you know, for me to work in the White House or the Vice President's house or you name it, it's an honor, believe me.
Sure.
But we've done it so many times. But there's a friend of mine, Kent Rogerson. He's from Low Country Floors down there in South Carolina, Georgetown, South Carolina, and his partner Jamie. They came up to help me at the White House. And these guys came up with this box truck with the most impeccable equipment I've ever seen in my entire life. Wow. And I got to know Kent, and this guy, you talk about someone knowledgeable about equipment and the way it works and the function of it is absolutely incredible. So my point is I get more fulfillment bringing people into Washington with their talent to work with me, and I learn something from them just as much as they learn from me, and they get the opportunity to work in something. Now, believe me, wherever they're from, they're working the cream of the crop. But, you know, when you come to work in the White House, that's a good feather in your hat. And these people come up and we work, and it's just a fun experience. Unbelievable.
Well, your name comes up all the time. When we started and I had heard your name years ago. We actually spoke about 5 years ago real quickly, and your name came up a lot. But in the time that you and I spoke about getting together and doing a podcast, everybody I've run into, it's like the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, knows you. So I was just working with two guys out of Boston and happened to say, they said, "What's your podcast?" I said, "It's going to be Sprigg Lynn." And they go, "Oh, we're going down to work with him in D.C." And it was the JJ guys, Chris Pesters, who's also coming up soon. And then our company's owned by Horizon Forest Products now. My boss came down the other day and he goes, "Y'all speaking with Sprigg Lynn? He's one of our customers. We know him." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Everybody knows Sprigg. I got it. I got it down."
Hey, you ask, and we pay our bills on time and every time. And let me tell you, JJ, they're hardworking fellows up here in Boston.
They are.
And I get to meet these people from all over the United States and the world that are just as passionate as I am. You know, when I go to the convention, I get excited like a little kid going to the fair for the first time.
Yeah.
Look, I'd rather do that than anything. I'm looking at floors all the time. I'm thinking about floors. I keep a notepad right next to my bed. And if I come up with an idea or I'm thinking about something, I got to write it down or I can't go to sleep.
That's a good call.
That's how passionate I am.
That's true. Don't you love that? I did a high-rise in Boston. They were having a problem with a parquet, and I'm way up in this high-rise. And they were a little standoffish, but I'm looking at the floor. I got it all figured out. I started talking wood with this guy, and he's a shirt and tie Harvard guy, whatever. And he got quiet, and he goes, "I'd like to show you something." And I go, "Okay." And he yells, "Honey, make sure you're dressed." Now, he takes me to the back of this penthouse apartment. It's a little closet. She runs in the bathroom to get dressed. He slides this little door for this little closet. I open it. He's overlooking Fenway Park, and what's in this little tiny room? It's woodworking lathe, woodworking equipment. He's got this little. He makes like custom pens. He had I think it was a set of chairs, Windsor-back chairs that he was reworking for somebody. And this guy's like an attorney, but that's his passion. He had the bench that he had sat down on was when they renovated Fenway Park. He bought 2 of the seats and bolted them into that little room. That was his little woodworker's man cave. And he said, "I never show this to people, but I thought you'd appreciate it."
That's good. You know what? We find a lot of the justices at the Supreme Court would stop and come in and watch us work. And a lot of people that work more with their intellectual mind and their hand, with being a judge, they miss that connection of being a carpenter or working with their hands. And they would come and they were very intrigued, and they'd watch us and ask us a lot of pointed questions. It was very, very interesting. When people can feel your passion, if you're charging or not charging. I like to charge, but when they feel your passion, they like that. They get excited about it. They're like, this guy's excited about doing this floor. A lot of times they'll come in and ask us, how are you going to restore this floor? And we get into historic restoration, believe me, totally.
Right.
Hook, line, and sinker. But they'd say, how are you going to do it? And we'd say, I don't know. But when we get done, it's going to look beautiful.
It's going to look great when we're done.
It's going to look, and you know what? It's the same response. They all start laughing. They walk away and they leave us alone. It's absolutely incredible. But it's true. Historic restoration starts out, we have no idea how we're going to do it. I mean, we got a kind of idea, no idea. And then it's just a disaster in the middle. And at the end, it all comes together. And some of the best restoration and the best basic repairs go unnoticed because they look like they were never done.
Right.
It's the bad repairs that people go, look, I see a guy did this or a gal did that. And you know, people can see bad repairs and or restoration, and it just kills me. We try to make it, believe me, we put our heart, body, and soul into it 100%.
You're right there. If you have a brand new floor, you can map it out, you can plan it, and if sometimes you get up, the truck shows up, everybody jumps in, and everybody already knows where they're going to start, where the force board's going to go in, where are we going to be trapped by a radiator or a refrigerator or whatever. But when you're doing a restoration, it speaks to you. You show up with everything you got and all your tools and all your tricks, and you pick a spot and you start moving with it, and it speaks to you. And you're going to run into difficulties, and sometimes throwing a brand new board in isn't a smart thing to do. There's other ways. Flipping a board over, getting a board out of a closet, finding one in the attic. There's a different way with restorations than there is with brand new flooring.
You know what? On anything from restoration to cosmetic touch-ups, I'm not bragging. I got damn good at it. You know why?
You love it.
Because my father said, Sprigg, go collect this check. And we got a lot of floor guys working for us. And not all of them are perfect, believe me. He said, I don't care what you do. When you walk out of that house, you better collect that check. So I had to do whatever I had to do to make that floor look right. So I could get paid. It might take me an hour. It might take me 2 days. But my father wasn't putting up with, you're not getting paid. So I had to get good at it, and I'd get my Bass Pro Shop box out or my wooden caddy with all my stuff in it. I'd go to town, and not one thing is better than the other. There's so many different ways to fake the eye to make it look right. And one of my most fulfilling jobs I ever did was on the fly at we're in the White House working, and the guy said, look, somebody did something and we need this fixed. Can you fix it? And I said, well, I'll try. He said, it's in the Oval Office. So we go in the Oval Office, and whoever fixed it looked like someone threw up on the floor. It was horrible.
God.
But we got it done. But you talk about being on the hot seat.
Right.
I was on the hot seat. But when I walked away, that thing was first class. It looked like it grew there. And so cosmetic touch-ups will get you paid.
Yes.
And they'll also is an avenue to get you a new good customer. Everyone's always looking for customers. Good builder. All builders have problems. So we took a different method. We know this builder pays his bills. We just hadn't connected with him. Instead of saying we're the best, we'll do this, we'll do that, we say, give me a couple of your problems and let me make it go away. If I don't make it go away, don't pay me a damn penny. Absolutely. But if I make it go away, I want this reasonable price, but I want your work. And guess what? We've gained more. You think about it. You get one builder in 10 years, amount of work that guy could give you. He could give you 100,000. He could give you $2 million worth of work. That's a lot of work. And you can gain a customer by taking care of his problem, because the other floor guy maybe worked with him for 10 or 15 years and he lost his gumption.
Right.
He doesn't care. And you come in there with the biggest smile on your face, you take care of business.
This episode of All Things Wood Floor is sponsored by Woodchuck Flooring. flooring and customer service experts with 52 years under their tool belts. The Woodchuck team loves to talk shop as much as we do. But when it's time to supply shop, they give you more floor and less chore. Show up to the job site like a superhero when you shop online for the latest in commercial and residential flooring supplies, maintenance tools, and the basics like nitrile gloves. They offer shipping nationwide. Get 15% off your first purchase of all the best quality stains, finishes, and supplies you need to activate your installation superpowers with the code WeCanBeHeroes, that's all caps, one word, WeCanBeHeroes, at shop.woodchuckflooring.com. That's it for now. Let's get back to Steve Diggins' talk with award-winning Washington, D.C. wood floor pro Sprigg Lynn.
Well, yeah, in restorations, it's really artistry. You look at that and you go, I can really separate myself from the pack if I do what I know I can do right here. You know, I told you my grandfather was a luthier, built violins and this and that. Now, he was a poor and simple man, but, you know, my mom said a limousine would pick him up on weekends, and they owned all the big furniture companies. And back then, you owned a private company. You went to local craftsmen and you bought. And they would pick my grandfather up and take him around, and he'd say, "That's a good piece. This is a piece." He would make pieces for them. And I remember my uncle was telling me my grandfather built a Queen Anne's like a sofa frame, and they had him and the kids take it out in the backyard. And he went and got his shotgun out of one of his shotgun cabinets, and he shot it full of birdshot. And then he hand rubbed it and stained every bit of it. And you would have thought that whole frame had been worm rotted. It was beautiful. But that was that next level to really make it, take away the newness of it, to make it look like something that was original.
If you can make new wood look old, foot worn, what have you, and you can recreate that, you got something there.
I think you're absolutely
anybody
right.
Anybody can throw a sander on it and sand it down to raw wood and put some finish on it. But if you can make new wood look old, you got it. You got it going on.
Well, you mentioned the whole part of it about many times, like your family would say, "Hey, and by the way, we're not a charity here. You know, only way we can exist is to get paid for the work we do." Yeah. Did he give you a lot of collection tips? Like, what were the words of wisdom when you had to go out and get that money?
Let me tell you a few things.
Okay.
One is when we'd go collect the check, the builder or where we got your money, and it got down to the point where we had a list of questions, we said, okay, what time can we pick the check up? Okay, 2:00. Fine. If you happen to leave the office, where are you going to put the check? Because, you know, you show up, and, we had unexpected, we had to leave. Then we were instructed to open the envelope. Number one, make sure it had our name on it, because another trick was they'd put another company's name on it. Oh, we inadvertently put the wrong check in there. That'd buy them another week.
Yep.
Then we had to check the date, and then we had to check the signature. Then once we got all that, we brought it back to the office. My father get his signature attested to. He'd go straight to the bank and turn it into cash.
Right.
But he would say, you know, you got to collect that money. So especially if it was a substantial amount of money, you said, look, I'll save you a stamp. Let me come pick it up. And we would pick it up. And we had a salesman one day. Well, they do it all the time, or used to, not anymore. They'd say, hey, we got a check for you. And the salesman would get a little lazy. Well, throw it in the mail, right? Yeah. So my father would get wind of that, and the salesman come Friday, want his paycheck. He'd say, where's my check? He said, well, I'll put it in the mail. We sent it to your house. So right then and there, when it hit home to that salesman, it's important to collect that money.
Oh, yeah.
That money needs to be collected, because you got to pay bills with something. And you talked about having a relationship with your supplier or the people that extend you credit. We've been through boom and bust many a times, believe me. Sure. I've been through boom and bust. And when you can't pay the whole bill, you pay a portion of it, and you constantly pay those people. I don't care if it's $100 or $1,000. They will respect you if you pay some of your bill. But when you start hiding from people, that's a bad deal. You got to be honest with people and pay them what you can, and constantly pay them and chip away at it. And if your business model isn't working for whatever you're doing, you better change it and get with it, because business is not easy.
No, and you're in business and I always tell people a well-deserved profit. When people say, "Oh, you're making money," well, listen, it is a well-deserved profit for what we're doing. You've probably been through it when people say, "Well, I was shopping." No, that's not what we do. And I'll give them the name of 3 other flooring people. They say, "Well, why are you doing this?" Well, listen, I'm not the Kmart of flooring, and I don't mean to insult Kmart, but that's what you're looking for. That will never be me. That's not my guys. I need to pay them well for the reputation that we have. And we're just not going to do that kind of work. But there are plenty of people out there that will. You've seen it, Sprigg. You see the guy that drops his price, and 10 years later, he's still the guy dropping his price. He's still the guy that can't pay his distributor.
You got it dead on. We got a joke amongst us that we went over to the doctor. He was a high dollar surgeon, and we were repairing his floors. And he said, "God dang it, it only took you an hour and you charged me $1,500. I'm a surgeon. I don't even charge that." And the floor guy gets up and said, "Either did I when I was a surgeon." He walks away. So we give that joke sometimes to the customer when they complain about it. They don't talk about all the years and trial and tribulations you went through to learn how to do it. It may look easy. I mean, how much does it take a surgeon to take a scalpel and cut someone? He has to know where, when, how deep. And believe me, we got to know the same thing. We just have a little bit of different education path.
Oh, you know what's interesting? They always say, it's not rocket science until they have to go to court or they need us. I did one once. I got a guy, I think it was a $17,000 rip-up, which is so rare. It was really just a big mess, and they called me in. And I think guy owned a car dealership, and I think my side of it was $650. I got it done. I found him a guy, got it all ripped out, got to work it through the insurance with the distributor. Everybody came through with, not too many bumps and bruises. And he didn't want to pay me my $650. And I said, if I had said to you, $650, you give it to me now, I'm going to get you a $13,000 floor and the people to do it, and it'll be done in a week, you'd have paid it. And he goes, "Well, you know what it cost me to put gas in my boat?" I said, "I don't have a boat." And I know what it cost to put, this is, and you know what? This is no joke. I think I took $450. 2 years later, he called and he goes, "Hey, remember me? I'm having a problem." And it was like crickets. I was quiet, and he goes, "Oh, we're going to have a problem, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, we're going to have a problem." I said, "You need to find another consultant." I said, "We're good." I go, "There's your $250 that you owed me." And we left it at that. And I'm not a spiteful person, but boy, for that guy to do that, like your surgeon, "Oh, a good guy would cut me a deal." No, a good guy would pay me what I deserve before the rate goes up.
Hey, look, see, they didn't have to beg you to do the work. They shouldn't have to beg you. We shouldn't have to beg to get paid.
Nope.
And we took a turn to credit cards some time back. My father was against it because he was old school, but he came around. And we take a substantial amount of money on credit cards. Right. And we do charge a convenience fee of, I think, 3.2%.
Okay.
About the highest you can get charged by the credit card companies, us,
sure,
to cover that. And you wouldn't believe how many people still use their credit card for the convenience.
For the convenience.
And we write on there, right on the contract, that they will pay the credit card payment when we substantially finish the job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's absolutely incredible. So we went to the credit card company and said, "What can we do to protect ourselves?" And they told us X, Y, and Z, and we did it. And we rarely have any problems with it. And it beats running around trying to collect your money.
No, it sure. That brings up a question. One of the things I think is when I was younger, and same thing happens. You start a floor company, you don't feel the confidence with the guys you're working. Next thing you know, you're working on your own. And I did everything I could to start small and learn sanding. If I didn't know something, I'd call in another guy and bring him in to show me how to do a glue down or whatever. But how did you learn? Probably the hardest part of the job on the business end is, how'd you learn to cost out jobs and know what to charge? And how did you learn all that?
Well, fortunately, I had a father that was very intelligent in this part of the business. And he felt that it was just as important as the mechanic on the job site.
Right.
But he taught me. We cost out every single job is costed. Everything, we know exactly what our labor, material, our profit. So we can, if we see something that's out of whack, we look into it. But we cost every job. We don't guess at anything.
Okay.
We know our numbers.
Well, you have to, right? But I think how do you know when to go from you don't want to be competitive with everybody? You know that your work is significantly better, and you know that you are going to take that kind of time, and you know you're going to deserve a little more.
Look, we charge our rate. Now, look, a lot of people say they're booked up for 6 months, 8 months, whatever. You have to go with your schedule. If your work is slim, you might have to reduce your price. If your work is packed up, you increase your price. You got to flow with what your schedule board looks like.
Sure. Well, that makes sense. So when you're moving on through all this, and where are you at now? Are you more of a leadership role? Are you doing still, grinding it out every single day, or do you have to do a lot more managerial? Like at the end, when I had crews, I want to just doing a lot of out helping, assisting, getting equipment, moving material around.
I'm what you call a professional hand holder.
There you go.
No, but look, I tell you what. No, I don't get on the floor and grind every day.
Yep.
But I cherry pick the jobs I want to.
Sure.
I enjoy it. It makes you really it makes you understand what your guys in the field go through every day.
Sure.
And it's not easy. So some people gets disconnected from what I call the field. They lose the insight of the grind and how hard it is, and it's mentally and physically demanding, and that's why I like to get out on the job. I love running a big machine. I love doing repairs, but I can't do it every day. So I'm basically management,
right?
And we're looking over things, and we're always trying to improve, and we're always we don't fire anyone. We always try to just replace the weakest link.
Yep.
Always, and we're always trying to be. We're always trying to be two steps ahead of everybody.
Sure.
If it's black stain, we want to be black stain before anyone else. If it's this invisible or raw look, we want to figure that out before anyone else and ride the market for a while and make some extra money until everyone can buy it in a bottle. So we're always constantly trying to be ahead of our competition. Years ago, I was lucky if I knew people 30 minutes outside my area,
right?
Competition wise. Now I know people all over the United States. I can pick up that phone and call someone because experience is a expensive endeavor, expensive. So if I can call someone that's been through it or done it, they're going to save me a lot of time and money. That's why networking is so important.
Right.
To know people that've been through the problems. And problems cost you money. You don't want problems. But everybody's going to get them. Hell, the rocket ship that went up, that blew up, there's rocket scientists that put that thing together.
Absolutely.
So you don't think there's going to be problems with wood floors? Of course there is. It's how you handle it. You got to analyze your problem. What's the problem? What happened? Let's not do it again, and let's get it done fast and quick, irregardless on who caused the problem. Let's get it done. Let's get it over with. Let's move on to the next job.
You got any crazy collection stories? Because I know it's not always easy.
I got. Believe me, I've been stabbed. I've been shot at.
How'd you get stabbed and shot at collecting your flooring money?
Believe me, I had to make sure I had that check when I came home.
Right.
But I got other stories though. We've dealt with a lot of good people out there. Mm-hmm. One time, the Vice President of the United States, sometime back, a guy named Dick Cheney, mm-hmm. His wife had a place and down on the water, and they wanted me to come down and take a look at it. And I went down there, and it was just the Secret Service and Miss Cheney, Vice President's wife, and myself. And she said, Sprigg, can you come upstairs and look at this floor? And we went up there, it was empty. And the only thing up there was a bed. And I walked up there, and they were painting downstairs. It smelled like oil-based paint. It was horrible. And she got upstairs, and she goes, I feel dizzy. I feel like I'm going to faint. And I said, oh, shit. Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cuss on the podcast. But I said, what do I do? If I grab her, they're going to shoot me, the floor guy. They're not going to, I mean, the floor guy. So, and if I let her drop on the ground, they'd probably shoot me.
Right.
Again. So I said, oh, Lord. So she went to fall, and I rolled her over on the bed, and I called for the Secret Service to run upstairs, and they took her pulse and everything. And she said that she didn't eat anything that day. And I guess the smells made her wheezy.
Right.
And so she walked outside, and she said, what can I do to help you? You know, I appreciate what you did and everything. You came down here. And I said, well, where are you going after you leave here? And she goes, we're going back to Washington. I said, well, the traffic's horrible. Can I follow your little motorcade? She said, sure. So we started up the road, and this damn van was trying to get in between the Cadillac and the black SUV, and I was riding behind him. And every time there was a little break, he'd try to get over. And finally, he almost got over, and the SUV swerved over, ran the guy, whole van full of people, into a ditch.
Whoa.
And everybody kept going. I said, this guy has no idea what he was doing, and they just kept going. So I thought that was pretty damn funny. I made it always back to Washington, went through the traffic, and it was a good deal. But Steve, a lot of stories, a lot of things we see, we can't say.
Sure.
We sign a lot of paperwork, and we got to be quiet.
Did you have to be quiet about, did you steal the vice president's stocks? Can you tell me, did you take our vice president's socks?
No, they're the damn president's socks.
You can tell me that one. Somebody was telling me about this.
We're up at this place called Camp David.
Yes.
That's the retreat for the
Camp
president.
David Accords, Camp David
and he has his own house. And, oh, man, got a nice hot tub with a presidential seal, little 3-hole golf course behind him. And we're up there working. And we went to coat the floor. And I stepped on some finish. It was kind of wet. I had my socks on. Oh, Lord. No. So I took my sock off and threw it in the other room. And then the sock kind of stuck together. I said, look, I can't go. I need some socks. The guy went back to the laundry room and got me the president's socks, one of them. And I put it on, and we finished the job. We rolled out of there about 3 o'clock in the morning. And this guy Marine come up with a machine gun. And he said, where's Sprigg Lynn? And everybody looked at him. He's right there. They're all pointing at me.
He pointed at you?
And I was there. He goes, you got the president's socks on. You got to give them back. And I took both damn socks off. I didn't know which one. I said, here, you got both of them, and took off. So it was kind of funny.
You got presidential seal and Adidas. Good. That's a good set.
We run into all kinds of hell. We're at the White House one time, and a certain president was slipping and sliding because someone put a French polish on the floor. Ooh. So we had to fix it. And they call us on a Sunday. And I said, we'll be down there Monday morning first thing. He said, no, you got to come today, Sunday. So we went down there. I took some, there's a Duracell stripper called Renovator.
Yes.
And I poured it in an old crock bottle with a cork jug and put it on there. And we were stripping that stuff off, and it was working great. And damned if he goes, what do you got in there? And I said, I'm not telling you. He said, you got to tell me. You sign that piece of paper. And I said, okay, it's called job security. And the guy started laughing. And I wouldn't tell him. You tell him what you're doing. That's another thing. As kids, my father would tell us, you lay your tools down when you're doing something fancy, and you be polite, and you don't work. Just let people go about their business and then go back to work when they leave. He goes, don't show anyone anything. It's totally opposite now. Everybody can get any information on YouTube or whatever. But back then, we laid our tools down and wouldn't work. We just take a break. And he said, don't show anyone. We guarded our secrets big time on how we did things.
I don't blame you. That's why they call trade secrets, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. But hey, you know what? The wood floor business has been very good to myself and my family, past and present.
Can you tell the goodly peoples of flooring the Gandhi and the White House floor story? I like that story.
Well, no, it's actually over there at Ethel Kennedy's house.
Oh, that's right. It was at Look Kennedy's house. Tell
Yeah,
me that one. That was slick.
he was the Dalai Lama
Right.
was coming over to her house to stay. I guess that was his place to stay. And she wanted to make sure the floors looked good for him in the bedroom he was staying.
Right.
And my father said, you know, Ethel Kennedy's pretty tight on paying. You better be careful if you go over there. Because I remember back in the 60s, she didn't pay. No, if any Kennedys are listening to this, I'm sorry. but they were tight on paying.
Sure.
But anyway, so we got up there and I looked at it, I said, Miss Kennedy, this floor needs to be sanded. She goes, well, the Dalai Lama's going to pray right over here. And I said, no, it needs to be sanded. She goes, can't you just wax it? He's not going to pray that long on the floor. I said, oh, Lord, she's got in the corner there. But we waxed it up for him. I guess the Dalai Lama, go ahead and pray. I guess he got up every morning and prayed. But we run it. You know, I'm in the process of writing a book, a large book, a lot of pictures. Nice. A lot of pictures with some history of some jobs we've done in the process. I think it'll be like a coffee table size book. I think it'll be good. I think it'll be great. And the places we get to work in that most people don't have the opportunity, I feel blessed. That's why I like networking with people. I can bring in hired mercenaries that are excellent at their trade, and they can come in and work with me, and we all have a great time. Absolutely. It's a power of networking, and people need to get on with it, because networking with people with the same passion as you is fantastic.
How do you drive with your guys? Like, you know, they used to call us the singing floor guys. I swear to this day, if I walk onto a job, there are songs that go through my head. We would copy movie lines all day long. We would crack jokes all day long. We would sing all day long. Any of you guys pull practical jokes and things? What do you got going on with your guys?
Well, look, there was one time we were on a job. We didn't eat breakfast. We didn't eat lunch. It was coming to dinner time, and this really old lady said that we had to move her furniture back. I said, oh, Lord, we got to go move furniture back. And we were starving. And I was with another fella. And we were moving furniture back. And there was this big yellow glass goblet with a bunch of peanuts in it. Yep. And my guy started eating the peanuts. And I said, Steve, look, man, you can't eat the lady's peanuts. You know, we can't eat the people's food. He goes, I'm starving, man. I feel like I'm going to throw up. I'm so hungry. And he kept eating them. And the lady came in right when he was finishing up the peanuts. And I said, ma'am, it was a really old lady too. I said, ma'am, I'm really sorry. I'll buy you some new peanuts. I'm really sorry you ate your peanuts. She goes, don't worry about it. I just like to suck the chocolate off of it.
Oh, my mom used to do that. Oh, that's brutal.
No, that's a good floor joke. You got to admit.
That's a good one. Well, hey, somebody told me to ask you about a turkey, and I won't say any more than that, but you had a story about a turkey or parts of a turkey.
Can't talk about it.
Okay, we won't talk about the turkey story.
We can't talk about that.
We talked about the knife guy, but you worked in the Supreme Court. You did work in the Supreme
Court. As long as you're
not
recording this, I'll tell you about it.
Yeah, we're recording. Go
ahead. What was your question?
What was your question? Didn't you also have wasn't there some type of an emergency with the Supreme Court flooring or something that you had to go?
Oh, the one lady that came in the Supreme Court, she after she got brought in the Supreme Court, she had a party there in the one of the big fancy rooms there, and they called me up and said, "Look, there's a crack. You know, when the shoulders get broken and someone sits in a high heel, there's a crack in the floor, and we got to get this fixed because the president's coming." Right. And I said, "Okay, I'll be down there tomorrow morning." I said, "No, you don't understand. This is like 9:30 in the morning. You don't understand. the function is at 1:00. You got to come now. And I said, there's no way I can get this thing fixed in time. And they said, well, look, we'll have a Supreme Court police meet you out in front of the Supreme Court, watch your truck, and we'll escort you right through the front door if you can fix it. Right. I said, okay, I'm on it. I grabbed my little tackle box, and I was on it. And they were going over the list of guests and stuff. There was like Ricky Martin and all these people. Oh, I was listening to everything. So the Secret Service guy was watching me with a suit. He is watching everything I was doing. And then I fill it with this kneaded up epoxy, and it looks like chewing gum in the beginning. You got to put the light part in there and then faux it and do all this stuff. And I said, the only thing I could get to dry fast was lacquer. So I brought a little lacquer with me. And, that stinks to high heaven. Sure. And it was a small area. And he said, well, the president's coming, man. You got to get this thing done. And you talk about the pressure on you. So I'm getting it done. I faux in the grain. I got it all done. I put the lacquer on it. And that Secret Service guy looked at me and said, we can't have no smell. No. You got to get rid of that smell. And I said, don't worry about it. I got you covered. I kept doing it. And he goes, you got to get rid of that smell. And before I left, I went into the Universal Floors bathroom and I got some spray. It was like country flowers or something that was in the thing. I had it in my back pocket. I turned around right when he goes, you don't understand me. You can't have that smell. I went, 2 quick sprays, country flowers. And I said, I got you covered, brother. Woo! And that guy started laughing. He goes, I've seen a lot of stuff in my life, but that is funny as hell. It was great.
Country flowers and lacquer. I think kids in the 60s were doing that stuff at Woodstock.
we had to cover up. But so we run into a lot of interesting people, just like everybody does. And it's kind of fun. And we don't play politics. Obviously, we're right in D.C. and everybody sends all kinds of both sides of the party. So we just do our job, and money's green. It doesn't know which side it's being spent on. So we just do the job and get on with the next one.
No, I hear you. And listen, I got stuff, but I'm not going to steal all your stories. I was doing the same thing as you. I got a bunch of stories. I was going to write a book, and every now and then I don't have anything to throw into the magazine or online, and I'll wind up using one of the stories. I'm like, darn, there goes another story I was going to save for my book. So I won't steal all your stuff. But I told you if you called and we spoke for 5 minutes, it would turn into an hour easy.
We got it. You got any rapid questions or?
Yeah, I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw some rapid questions on and I'll let you escape my clutches a little bit because I think it's went by really quick. All right, I'm gonna throw some rapid fire questions at him. You answer me as quick as you can.
Hey, listen, Steve, I got to tell you one more quick story.
Yeah, please.
One more quick story.
Sure.
We're down at this. Anytime someone goes left, we go right. If 9 companies say they can't restore it, we say we can. So there was this real fancy museum down in Washington. Everybody said this teak floor from 1909 couldn't be fixed, and this and that, and it's going to cost $300,000 to replace it. And I said, no, I can fix it. I'll show you a sample. I'll get it done. We saved them so much money on that parquet that we could command a better price on all the rest of the work. Right. And we got the job. And they went and had this party at the end with dignitaries and all these people. And the curator got up there, and damned if he wasn't mentioning Universal Floors. And he was so happy that we saved this floor. And you know what I did? And my wife thought I was crazy, but it's perception. So I got a lot of work out of this. What I did is I got calluses on my hands. I never work with gloves. But I took a pair of needle nose pliers and I twisted those calluses up. So, Steve, I had the roughest hands you ever felt in your life. I mean, these calluses were sticking up an eighth of an inch. And I went to that gala or whatever it was, and I was shaking people's hands. And I go, watch their eyes. They'll go look straight at my hands when they shake their hands. They shook the roughest man's hands they've ever run, because they don't know how hard I work. But they were thinking I really, really worked really hard.
You got cowboy hands.
And damned if 3 or 4 people called me down the road to do other museums or whatever. And they said, look, I want to, he had the roughest damn hands I've ever shaken. And I thought that was pretty damn funny. It's all about perception.
Oh, yes, it is. That's crazy. Oh, listen, I'm going to run through some quick fire stuff for you, and then maybe if they're nice to me at Wood Floor Business Magazine, they'll let us chat again sometime, because we could do this all day long. All right, I'm going to rifle through these. You answer them as quick as you can. You ready to roll?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You got a favorite tool in your box? Something that if it's not there and you know about it, someone's going to get a beat down?
My favorite tool is my left and right arm.
There you go.
Do anything I tell it to.
That works. How about pet peeves? How about in flooring, on the job, etc.? Is there something that just drives you nuts?
You kidding me? There's Steve, I'll tell you what, there's a few things, and you might think I'm crazy, is when people put shoe molding and you see a pencil mark after they're done. It just kills me. Short boards in high visual areas kills me.
Yeah.
We add 10%. We measure a 11'9" room. We make it 12 feet. We always round up to the next fullest foot and add 10% waste.
Right.
We're not going to be caught short putting little boards in there. Another thing that kills me is wood vents. When people seal them in the floor, it drives me crazy. You got to coat the backside so the dry heat doesn't warp it.
Yep.
You got to coat both sides, and we cut about a 16th off each side so it has a little play. And I'm a fanatic about my wood vents. I want it right. You know how many people, the competition just coats right over it? It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. All right, here's one for you. This is our famous. You made this question famous, and you didn't even know this. Is there somebody in the industry you'd like to meet or work with, and you cannot say Sprigg Lynn because we're at 100%? Who would you like to meet and or even work with in this industry?
Hey, look, there's a lot of people out there, and I've worked with most of the people on my bucket list. Believe me, I have.
Right.
100%. But I'd have to. There's a little nepotism. I'd really like to work with my grandfather.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He when he retired in his 80s, he came to work at Universal Floors, and there's a lot of, that's a heavy list, man. There's a lot. I've been knocking them down though, one at a time. Everybody's got their high points, and I learned something from every one of these people I work for or work with. Let me tell you something real quick.
Sure.
When about my pet peeves, when people put down stain samples, some people don't put the finish that they're going to use over top of the samples, and it's a totally different look. It kills me. Like, holy cow! And if people are nailing up a board or they're sanding the floor and they see a board and they gotta look at it more than 2 seconds, they better take care of it. They better take it out. They better fix it, period. You got to look at something, when you nail on the floor and all of a sudden, should I take it out? Should I not? You got to think about it. You better take it out.
Damn right. So listen, from your time in the industry, there must be something in what we do as hardwood flooring. And you have a lifelong dedication to the hardwood flooring industry. Is there like one specific thing that you just really appreciate about the work we do in the industry that you're in?
You know what? There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
When you're when you're installing a wood floor, or the other trades stop and look at you, they're really fascinated with what you're doing. Even laying a straight lay, or if you're bending wood, there's more fulfillment out of being a professional, holding your head up, knowing what you're doing, and being proud of what you do. And it's fantastic. I love it. The wood floor trade is a good, wholesome trade to know.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic.
Well, if you hadn't done flooring, what do you think if you weren't like diving headlong into flooring your entire life? What do you think you would have done, or is there something else that you wanted to do?
Lawyer. I would have gone to law school.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, we are few and far between ever going to court, Universal Floors. Mm-hmm. But small claims court, I've won every case, every damn case, believe me. And I was in court one time, and they had an expert up on stage. He was an expert, and he was qualified somehow. I don't know. And they got me up there and said I wasn't an expert. And I said, what? What's your credentials? What class? Well, I never took a class before.
Sure.
And I took a vow to myself from that point on that I would join the National Wood Flooring Association. I would take every class, and then eventually I'd teach almost every class, and I would immerse myself in every possible degree I could get in wood floor. So next time I'm up here on that stand and that judge asks me, I'm going to tell him, yes, X, Y, and Z. But I felt that, people judge someone just because they don't have this degree or they're not a craftsman degree. And the best degree is on the job training.
Absolutely.
And but sometimes people overlook that. And you could be a certified person and really not be all that great at your trade.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to get certifications, and you know what? Sometimes it's a lot of money and a long weekend.
But it is a start.
It
is a start,
Absolutely.
and it's important. But don't count out all the guys that never stepped in a classroom, because I've worked with guys as a kid that maybe had a third grade education, and they might as well had a master's degree in calculus because they can lay out just about anything. And that's who taught me.
I love to tell people that when they ask about that, I'll say, well, you know what? The Wright brothers didn't have pilot's licenses. I've been around a while. I put a lot of floors in. So trust me, if I can't figure this out, I will tell you who can.
I got an autographed picture at home to my grandfather from Orville and Wilbur.
Get out. You got to get us a photo of that. Let's put that in Wood Floor Business Magazine. That's amazing.
Met a lot of people. And you can imagine what that guy, from the time he was born, just right after the Civil War,
sure.
Until now, what that man has seen, his life.
Look how far.
And my father too. Sure. My father has seen the wood floor business. He remembers the first nailing gun that came out. Mac McLaughlin came to his shop in the 1960s and said, "We got this thing called a power nailer, and you don't have to hand nail floors anymore." And everybody thought he was crazy.
Right.
And then they came out with the air gun. So we use manual nailers sometimes.
I hear you. What about home, shed, mailbox, office, van, something? You have any carpet anywhere? Is there carpet in your family homes anywhere?
Hey, at one time, Universal Floors did do some carpet.
Get out.
When back when they about killed the market, we had to survive. No, I don't have any carpet in my house. I got wide plank. And
that was the right answer, Sprigg.
No, we got rugs. I got a few Orientals and a few other rugs, but the house I bought, I moved in a few houses up from where I grew up. And that was my earliest memory of doing a floor, or I really wasn't doing it. I was there. I was 5 years old. I remember my father laying the floor in the basement. It was 9x9 Higgins block, and
H block.
I took it up. Yeah, I took it up and put some wide plank French oak down there. But hey, believe me, I examined every inch of that floor, where he cut it, how he laid it out, everything. I couldn't find any problems, and I was looking hard. And I asked my dad. He said, "Don't worry, son, I know what I'm doing."
So,
was good.
Math being the part of the final exam, Sprigg, is it further to Baltimore than it is by train? It's a BS question, Sprigg. There's no answer to that question. I ran out of questions, so I threw you that one. Listen, I appreciate your time. I know you are so busy, and we had a little bit of a time connecting because I'm busy as well. But you were headlong into trying to make the time to get here and to talk with me and get this all rolling. And I'm glad we did, man. You're a cool guy. You're the floor guy's floor guy. I could talk to you an hour a day. You got your stuff down.
Hey, you know what? I really appreciate your time and your podcast, and you call me anytime. And those people that are listening to us, we take this trade very seriously. And if somebody ever wants to call me and talk to me, I don't care what level you're at, please call me. I feel calls all the time. This is my passion.
You do, so and I know that's how I got a hold of you.
You call me.
Yeah,
I'm ready to go.
All right, and listen, make sure you give me an invite down there. You want help? I'm in the same book as anybody else. I will show with jeans and work boots. Put me to work. I'll be there.
Well, we got a lot of stuff on the plate now.
Yes, we do.
Take you
All
up
right.
on it.
I can handle that. Well, listen, buddy,
All
I
right.
really, really, really appreciate your time, Sprigg. Thank you very much. And, we are here when you need us, buddy.
Bless you. You have a good evening.
All
I'll
right.
see you.
Take care, buddy. All right. Bye-bye now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of All Things Wood Floor, sponsored by Woodchuck Flooring, flooring and customer service experts with 52 years under their tool belts. If you'd like to see some of the fantastic work by this episode's guest, Sprigg Lynn, and the entire Universal Floors team, go to woodfloorbusiness.com and just put Sprigg Lynn, that's SPRIGGLYNN, in the search box. Before you go, don't forget to rate this podcast and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode.